Welcome back, mining community. Hope we're all well. So we have another episode today, and we are speaking to Ricus Grimbeek, who's the CEO of Trevali, who are a global zinc producer operating 3 revenue-generating mines, focusing on delivering sustainable shareholder value through transformative technology and ESG practices. Their project portfolio is focused on projects located in the mining jurisdictions of Canada, Burkina Faso, and Namibia. Ricus is a mine engineer by background and has over 30 years industry experience in South Africa, Australia, and Canada. And he's here today to tell us how he's leading a team that are going to be building the world's most sustainable underground mining companies. So welcome, Ricus, to the podcast. How you doing, Ricus?
Hi, Rob. Thank you very much, and thanks for that introduction.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, and hopefully that introduction was justified as well. So I know obviously you've been in the industry for quite a long time, and obviously we're here to talk about Trevali. First of all, just wondered if for those that don't know, and I'm sure most of my audience do know you, I just wondered if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, about your career, and how you obviously how your mining career has developed to what it is today.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. And yeah, that's you gave a good introduction there. But what I can add is that as you said, I was in the industry. I've been in the industry for more than 30 years now. I actually started working underground in a coal mine in South Africa and studied mining engineering. And what I realized after a couple of years working underground and working shifts is that I needed to study more. So I wanted to learn more, and I wanted to understand better. So I went back to university and I studied, did some additional studies in rock engineering and mine ventilation and environmental management. So I've got and I've always had a passion for sustainability and always had a passion for doing things safer in our industry. And maybe it's because of the things I saw and the things I experienced when I was a younger miner working underground. And I was also fortunate enough to work for some great mentors over my career that made me think about life differently. It also made me think about leadership differently. But also gave me experiences not just in mining, but in smelting and refining as well. And I also, at one stage, ran the health, safety, environment, community, and sustainability function for BHP Billiton. It was called BHP Billiton back then, for 3.5 years. And some of the experiences there, was worth gold at the time, because I spent time working with governments on things like climate change policy, the Australian government on resource rent tax, and the South African government on climate change policy. And so it gave me an insight into how governments work, and also how the NGO community work as well. And that gave me some new ideas around how mining companies can engage communities and NGOs and governments in creating a sustainable business. I've always firmly believed that we can create a business where we can guarantee the safety of people. That I know is a big statement, but I always say to people that if we can't guarantee people's safety, what are we saying to one another? And so, and I want my kids one day to work in a place where we can guarantee that they're not going to get seriously hurt at work. So, and we can talk about that a bit later. But to me, that's a whole different mindset that we need to take on as an industry. So that's my background. I'm passionate about nature, and I'm passionate about cycling as well. So, and I can play a little bit of golf.
You mentioned mentoring. How important is mentoring, and how did it affect you and the people that obviously mentored you, and what did you get from maybe more experienced people mentoring you?
Yeah, I think maybe I need to create the distinction between mentoring and coaching. because me, coaching is more on the job. It's more, direct skills coaching. And I think that's super important, and that we need that on a day-to-day basis. But the distinction for me between that and mentoring is more of a longer-term vision for where you want to be, and finding the right people to help you think through your career, think through the next 5 years, the steps that you need to take, giving you someone that's willing to be a mirror for you, and also give you some insights into how you show up, because we all think we show up a certain way, and then if someone is honest with you and gives you some real feedback, and they tell you that this is what's really showing up, that gives you an opportunity to deal with that, and to shift that. So I think it's super important to find the right mentors, not just people who believe in support, and parrot what you say. You actually need to find people who are willing to challenge you in your thoughts and your behaviors, so that you can think about what it is you really want to become in life, not just in your work, but in life as well. So yeah, I think it's very important. I think it's something of an art more than a science, so that there's no specific textbook to do that. And I also think it might be something that's fallen away a little bit over the last 5 to 10 years in our industry, is firstly the willingness for people to mentor, and then also people willing to take on the coaching and the mentoring that is needed to grow their careers.
Yeah. With mentoring and your mentoring, how did you find these mentors? Were they people that you knew in the industry? Were they immediate managers, or did you then reach out to certain people that you probably respected in the industry, approach them and ask them to maybe become a mentor, or it got to that stage? Was it someone that you knew, or did you reach out to someone and ask a question?
Yeah, and that's why I said I was fortunate to have good mentors, because I didn't know that I needed to find one, and I also had no idea how to and when and who to talk to. But I was lucky enough at that stage to work for people that were great mentors as well, and also to be surrounded by people that I didn't directly report to, but that took an interest in my career and took an interest in me as a person, to help me grow. So it's more of a luck thing, I would say, and maybe it's something to think back, and that is something that we don't really teach at a university, or somewhere in some leadership development course, how to do how to pick the right mentors and where to get them. And so yeah, that's a good question, and I was just really lucky. I worked for some amazing people over my career.
Just wondering if you can give us an overview of obviously Trevali Mining, and obviously your operations.
Yeah, it's this has been I've been with Trevali now for 3 years. It's been a labor of love for 3 years. I don't think I could have picked 3 more interesting years to be the CEO of Trevali, with what's happened in the world. I took the role with a very specific goal in mind, and that is to create the most sustainable mining company. And I know that is bold, and it's a little bit over the top, but if you don't aim for the stars, you're never gonna reach them. So I wanted to pick something where we had the ability to create what I think mining should look like in the future. And so we started off with 4 operations, with one in Peru, one in Burkina Faso, Canada, and Namibia. They were all high on the cost curve when it comes to zinc equivalents. So they were all over the $1 per pound level. And the plan was always to find ways to get the cost down, get the operations down a cost curve. And we had a great start to that. Ended up then being hit by COVID. So you can imagine, if your average cost is about $1 per pound and the zinc price is down at 82 cents, and you're paying a $300 treatment charge for your concentrates. 2020 ended up being a very, very tough year, and but the company we were able to get through that. We were able to refinance ourselves at the end of 2020 so that we could get back on track to execute on that vision that I still have 100% in my sights. So we ended up selling our operation in Peru end of last year, and we coined a new strategy called Shrink to Grow. I know it's not very creative, but it is exactly what we're doing. We're creating a business that is going to be around the 70 cents all-in sustaining per pound, cost per pound. We want to be in the top end of the first quartile of the zinc cost curve, and we've been able to, in the last 3 years, create an amazingly strong team of experts that are based all over the world. With COVID, we've been able to move to more of a hybrid working arrangement, and we've got people from Saskatoon to Stellenbosch that work for us, and then amazing teams at the operations that execute the day-to-day drilling and blasting safely. So we created this platform, and we are using technology to allow us to visualize our operations, to allow us to get to planning and scheduling to the level that you do not see in mining. So we plan and schedule our work, for example, at Raspina to the hour. We design our work for that hour with precision. So that's the platform we've created there with amazing digital tools. We fly drones. We flew the first drones in Namibia underground. We've got Spot. I don't know if you've seen our LinkedIn post on Spot, but we're the first mining company in Africa to use Spot. And we've got some interesting programs to help show how that would look like in future, and how supervision of certain more high-risk tasks would look like in future. We completed a feasibility study. So when I started 3 years ago, we realized that Raspina is a tier 1 asset, a tier 1 ore body, and we needed to build a tier 1 company on top of that, and a tier 1 operation on top of it. So we did a feasibility study and came up with a plan to expand the volume by 86%, and take the all-in sustaining cost from $1 down to 67 cents. We've been able to take the mine life to 2032, so up to 12 years at that expanded volume, and we are currently studying a project that we are joint venture partners in that's very close to Raspina called Gagrop, that we want to find a way of getting that linked to our current expansion project so that we can extend the mine life up to 20 years. So that is really creating a world-class tier 1 asset in the zinc space, in a very, very stable, great country. So that really is part of the Shrink to Grow, is that we're shrinking down to that asset, and then growing our business with quality assets, similar quality assets. Then if I look at Caribou, I think Caribou is one of those operations that I think is one of the tougher underground mines in the world to operate. It's in a smaller stopes, geologically or geotechnically quite challenging, and you've got cold weather issues as well. But the team we were able to restart Caribou just after COVID hit, and at the worst time. We've got a 2-year plan to run the operation, and we put that in place with a hedge so that we're not going to be hit by some weird price drop again. So we've got that plan fully in place at the moment, and the current plan is to finish the end of this year, but we're also studying ways of expanding and extending that to the full life of mine that's currently until 2026. But the really exciting piece about Caribou is that we're studying what is called rapid oxidative leach technology. So that is a way of treating ore and tailings, and you go from ore to metal. It's F.L. Schmidt patented this 5 years ago, and we are working with them to see if we can make a commercial project of this. We've done some bench tests, and we've also recently had a pilot plant on site where we tested the ore, we tested the tailings, and the recoveries have been amazing. So I'm very excited by that, because if that's true, then Caribou will also be a sub 70 cents all-in sustaining operation. So I suppose we also have to work out whether Caribou in that with the technology risk that you take on when you're building a new plant like that is something that Trevali shareholders want to be exposed to 100%. So we'll think about, and at the time when our technical study is complete, and that should be the middle of this year, make a choice on how to take that technology forward. So that's Caribou, and then we've got our Burkina operation in Burkina Faso that's got about a year's reserve left, but there's still a resource that we are studying and trying to find ways to extend that, because it's a very high grade operation, but also very high cost, because you're in the middle of Burkina Faso. We've got 1,000 kilometers to the nearest port, and we also burn diesel to generate electricity. And we don't have enough mine life to do what we did at Raspina, because Raspina we were able to build a solar plant to supply up to 30% of our power, and we can actually do more now. But we couldn't do the same at Burkina because of the short mine life, and it's really difficult to pay back the capital investment to do that. So we've got these 3 operations. I think over the next 12 to 18 months we'll shrink it down to 2, and depending on whether we want to take on the technology risk at Caribou, we might be down to Raspina, and then we want to grow. We want to grow in forward-facing metals, and we want to use our platform of technology and the amazing team that we've got to then grow after we've expanded Raspina.
Obviously, you mentioned Burkina Faso. How is the operation going there with obviously ongoing political unrest? Wonder if you can just give us a quick snapshot of obviously what's happening.
I think it's interesting because people in Burkina Faso are quite used to coup d'etats, so I think they're quite fit when it comes to that. So in reality, our operations hasn't been impacted at all. We're also quite lucky because we are on the western side of Ouaga, the capital city. It's the less impacted zone when it comes to all the incursions and terrorist activity and attacks. So it's been good. It was fine. We had a bit of an impact right in the beginning with curfews and making sure that we could get our shift changes done at the right time, get some of our expatriates into the country, but it's working fine. And I've been there a couple of times now, and the people of Burkina are just amazing. They're so friendly. Around our mine, the communities. I went to the clinics and schools, and just amazing, warm people. But I would love to see how we can extend the operation so that we can keep on supporting those communities.
Yeah, well, that's good that things are obviously going well there. You mentioned a few times the shrink to grow. I wonder if you just tell us a little bit more about the shrink to grow strategy and why you decided to sort of implement this.
Yeah, we as I said, we started with four mines, and they were quite high in the cost curve, ranging from 92 cents to $1.24 when we closed Caribou during COVID. So those are higher end cost curve mines, and it's the zinc market is interesting. So if you look at the last 15 years, the zinc price have gone up and down in in a very spiky way. So we've seen every single time that there's a disruption to the supply side on zinc, that there's a disproportionate reaction to the price. So the price goes up, it's unbelievable how quickly it flies up. But exactly the same happens. So it's like a zinc balloon, So once that thing is up there, it comes down like a zinc balloon. So it falls hard as well. So and that's for the last 15 years been true in the industry. And then you look across the industry, there are not really any pure play zinc companies out there anymore. I think we are basically the only one that you can call a pure play zinc, where more than 80% of our product is that we sell is zinc. So we sat back and said, there is definitely a niche play for us, and that is to be a pure play zinc. But what we needed was to be quality assets. We need to be able to survive through those times when the zinc price come off, because it's just a matter of time before it comes off again. So you need to find a way to create a company that is not just about volume. It's not just about zinc, but it's about quality. And if you then look at the 15-year the price cycle for zinc, if you can operate around the 70-cent mark, you will survive any one of those downturns. You'll still have margin to pay shareholders a bit of a return. So that's where the thinking started. So we started with the 4 operations. We looked at the 4 and said, what can we do in terms of getting these down the cost curve? And the 2 that we've identified that we can get below 70 cents is Caribou and Rospina. So 2 different things that we had to do with them. So Rospina is about an expansion because the ore body is there. There's life, there's space, there's water, there's electricity. And then overlay the fact that we want to build a green company, we saw the ability to put a paste plant up that will allow us to use less or to put the tailings back underground, so a smaller footprint, and also our water intensity goes down to a third of what it was in the past. We can get electricity because of basically Rospina is in a desert. Right next to a river, so you've got the water, but you've also got lots of sunlight, and we can over time, I believe we can get to 100% renewable energy at Rospina. So that's definitely part of a portfolio that you want to build a future company around. And similarly at Caribou with the new technology, because at Caribou, at the moment with normal flotation, the best we can get is about 80% recovery on zinc. We don't get paid for the gold because that goes straight through the tailings, and we don't get paid for the copper that we have in the ore because we can't float it. But with the new rapid oxidative leach technology, we can actually get paid for gold. It changes Caribou to a gold mine. It's quite strange, but suddenly Caribou becomes a gold mine. But so that's what we looked at the 2 operations that we can then be left behind, because the shrink to grow is about staying a zinc focused business. I think we definitely want to grow in more the forward facing metals. We'd love to get some copper in there and more silver, but we want to be focused on zinc and give investors an opportunity to, if you think zinc's going to go up, you jump in us, but then you don't have to sell us when the zinc price comes down, because we're still going to be paying you a dividend over time. So, and that's where we're at the moment. It's getting ourselves smaller, but stronger and more sustainable.
The company invested heavily, obviously, in digital technology. What have you implemented that has improved the business?
Yeah, it's so when people talk about technology and they talk about digital technology, I think a lot of times we think of the shiny things that we buy, the battery vehicles and the sensors and the robots and all those type of things. But it's the less interesting part is the most important when it comes to digital tools, and that is the mindset that you have to shift. So if you want to get the most out of digital, tools, you've actually got to become absolutely precise in planning and scheduling your work. So planning and scheduling and executing work with precision. So that sounds super boring, and I can tell you is the most important thing if you want to be successful in using digital tools. So that's what we've been focused on for the last 2.5 years. A place like Raspina, if you go there and go on a visit, we've had many visits recently because we're currently doing the financing for the mine, and people are blown away by the shift in culture around planning and scheduling, where people actually, operators, supervisors, superintendents, managers, they look at planning as more of a sacred thing rather than rough guidance. So it's and that's the only way that you can really then start using the tools like your sensors and your the real-time monitoring of equipment, the real-time data that you get from what you're drilling, where you're drilling, what comes into the plant. That's the only way you can really get the most out of all the new data, is if you can actually adjust work in real time or near real time to get the most out of the data that you're getting. So, and I know that sounds lopsided and maybe a long explanation, but that's what we've seen is the benefit of knowing what people are doing right now, and knowing that what they are doing has been planned and scheduled, and it is the best work to be done right now. And then the key thing is having an ability to adjust the plan, because in our industry things do change. You can't know exactly what's going to happen today, because you're mining to things, and things break, and the key is understanding what the next best plan is, and not doing that based on a supervisor or superintendent's judgment call underground or at the phase, but base that on data. And that's why we have digital twins of all our operations, and we can run rapid planning and rescheduling processes to come up with the next best work to do. And an example would be a crew is underground, and suddenly we lose the ventilation to that area. What's the next best thing for them to do? And it could be that they have to come to surface and go to training that they were supposed to do next week, rather than send them to a different area and start loading or drilling and blasting a new area that then puts everything out of sequence and puts the wrong grade into the plant. So but with those type of calls, you cannot really make if you don't have visibility of all the data, and so you need that to go back to a centralized point where people that have got all the data can make calls on that. And lastly, I think what we've seen with digital is it's also the access to allow us to guarantee the safety of our people, because you now in a world where you can monitor remote work 24/7, you can use AI to help monitor high risk areas. You can understand the key metrics and the key controls and the key fatal risk controls you got in place, in efficiency of those real time, so that you can adjust and pull out and warn when things are going to go off track. So yeah, long-winded answer, but it's more about the mindset and getting a whole company to start believing that planning and scheduling is important.
Again, sustainability is important to Trevali. What actions have you taken around sustainability to again improve the business?
Yeah, I think we use the term we want to be the most sustainable company, and to me that it's got so many facets to it. It starts with our license to operate. So I look at our license to operate in certain communities more as a privilege to operate, because sometimes you have a mindset when you have a license as well. I have the right now to do certain things, and then people become a little bit less sensitive and less engaging with the stakeholders in their community. So, but if you think of it as a privilege, it really, you know that you need to engage and keep on engaging, even if you think you have the right. So that's also in the areas where we work in sensitive environments. We started all of what most mining companies do, and everyone should be doing waste management plans and water treatment and water conservation and land treatment and land preservation plans and solar energy and green energy, and we do a ton of stuff on local community development. We buy locally. We support local leaders. We support kids in local communities. So that's all part of it, and I think all long-dated capital-intensive industries should be doing around the world, and I think a lot of them are. And I think it's also, for me, sustainability plays into the world of creating diverse workforces. And when I look at diversity and inclusion, they again two very distinct things in my mind. I have to make things simple for myself, otherwise I get confused. So I look at for me, inclusion is a verb. It's an action. We create inclusive workplaces, and that's for inside the workplace, but also inclusive with our communities and our governments and where we operate. So we share our data. It's open. We make sure that everyone can see it, can see everything. And in terms of a workplace, we create a safe space for people to be who they are. That they're not afraid to speak up and to say things the way they see it. They're also not afraid to be the person that they want to be. And what we find is diversity is then more of an outcome. So it's the output from an inclusive environment that we've created allows people to be who they are, and you see totally diverse people show up sometimes. When you allow them to just speak up and give them the space to be who they are, and then it also attracts people that are different to come and work for us, because there is this inclusive workplace where they can be part of that. So I don't think mining companies will be able to operate unless you are super focused on sustainability in future. I can see, I speak to many analysts and investors, and it's shifting. It's absolutely shifting. I can remember when I was head of HSEC and sustainability for BHP Billiton, that was in 2009. I said to the then CEO, Marius Lopez, this is going to become a big thing. We really have to think about how we set ourselves up. And I can remember you said you can see it as well, but it was back then quite a hard conversation to have, because it's such an integrated thing. You can't bolt sustainability onto your business. It really is the core of how you design everything and how you think about your business is sustainability. And back then I can remember sitting in investor meetings. There were no questions about sustainability, nothing, zero. Today, most meetings I have with investors start with sustainability. They want to know, what are you doing? And they call it ESG. So it's still there. The questioning is still very high level in some instances. One or two people are actually quite deep into it and start understanding the fundamentals of it. But at least it's there. Every conversation with investors, they do ask the question, and they want to see that you have a good handle on it. And some funds cannot invest in companies that don't do certain things. So that's why I think it's going to become a competitive edge if you can do this really well.
As a conclusion, what's the outlook for Trevali over the next sort of 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, it's super exciting. I can't wait to get this financing for Ospina sorted out. I think we're getting close to getting that done. We're looking for $200 million. I think we're going to do that without doing an equity raise. And so then once that's in place, we are off to the races, because we are on track to create that future looking company where we're down the cost curve. We're running a very sustainable, safe workplace where we can guarantee the safety of our people. So to me, we are ready to grow. We've got our eye on a couple of targets once we've got the Raspina financed to take us to the next stage where we'll be the premier zinc investment vehicle that will, even in tough times, give investors some money back.
Ricus, really appreciate your time. Interesting to hear, obviously, your vision for the company and looking and obviously understanding what you're looking to do with the company in terms of obviously sustainability and digital technology. It's really good to hear, and wish you well in the future. If our audience wants to reach out to you, if they have any questions or want to know more about what you have been doing and what the future of Trevali is, how can they go about doing that? And are you across any social media platforms?
Oh yeah, the best would be just to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm there. I post regularly and talk about the things we talked about today. So yeah, no, please reach out. No problem at all.
Yeah, no, that's great. We can include that in the show notes accompanying this as well. So, Ricus, really appreciate your time. Maybe you can come on later this year or next year to give us a update on how things are going with your operations. And for the audience, appreciate you listening to this. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Appreciate your continued support. And if you can obviously share this episode amongst others in the industry. Obviously zinc, there isn't too many obviously zinc mines out there, and obviously Trevali is a leader in the zinc space. So appreciate if you can share this information amongst others in the industry. So again, appreciate your time, Ricus. Wish you well in the future. And for those listening, until next time, happy mining.